Damn. As always, we got to thank God every minute of every day. Welcome to Ryan's Rewind. I want to explain to y'all real quick before I get into the show. We got to thank God every minute of every day. Ryan's Rewind came about while Doug and I were on hiatus. I said that whenever the opportunity comes for me to get back on radio or podcasting or doing any type of video or have any type of presence on any platform, that the 12 to 15 year period we were off, I was going to do something where I talked to all the people I thought about talking to while I was away. And today's guest is one of those people. So I'm going to get into the intro here real quick. This is Ryan's Rewind, where we just talk sports. We rewind that clock and we bring you the stories from behind the grind. I'm your boy, One Life Student Ryan Stewart. Very happy to have you. Today, I got a very special guest on the show. All right. This dude, I'm not going to call him a dude. This brother was my teammate in the secondary at Georgia Tech. A guy who brought energy, toughness, brains of the game, studied the game, knew where to be, when to be there, knew alignment, knew other people's assignments, knew what other people were supposed to do. He was that dude. Left Georgia Tech, played in the National Football League, played in the CFL, had a journey. That's why I often talk about the grind that he has whenever I get a chance to spend time with him or talk about him. For this guy to take some time out of his busy schedule and spend some time with me today on Ryan's Rewind, it is beyond a blessing. If I had the applause button, I would hit it right now, but I don't. We're going to welcome into Ryan's Rewind my guest for this evening, Nick Ferguson. Ferg, how you doing, sir?
What's up, man? It's been a while, man. It's good to see your face.
It's been a very long time, man, but it's so good to see you, man. Listen, I jammed my open up the intro. I messed it up because I'm just so excited and giddy to talk to you. Before we go anywhere or do anything or say anything, thank you for taking the time to be on, man. I love this platform. I love to do what we do. And when I get a chance to do it with someone that I've got a real relationship with, a bond, someone I consider a brother, it's always fun and it's always organic. So that's probably why I should have just threw the whole script out in the first place. But I really appreciate you being here, man. It really means a lot, dog.
Hey, thanks for even thinking about me and having me on, man. We go back in time, but it is a pleasure. And when you reached out to me, I was like, hell yeah. Like my wife, whatever we have on the docket, we're gonna push that to the side.
Right. No, I appreciate it, man. And I mentioned during the pre-show meeting that we had that I would love to get you on the platform with Doug and I, not just on the Rewind, but on the platform with Doug and I to talk sports. Yes, you're a former player. Yes, you played at the collegiate level in the National Football League, and you've got CFL experiences. We'll talk about all those here shortly, but you talk sports. You love sports. You know, if there's one thing you could do outside of being with your family or spending time with your kids or your lovely wife, you would want to be doing something sports related, I'm sure. So those are the conversations, in my opinion, that end up having tremendous opportunities to trend on these kind of platforms. Things that's organic, things that's natural, things where people just say, if I'm in the barbershop, that's the kind of conversation I will be having, man. So I'm looking forward to it, man, and I really appreciate it.
Well, you know what? Here's what I want to say, man. And I don't think you get enough credit. And I don't know if your audience probably realize this, but when I think about, you and Doug and the Two Live Stews and how many careers that you helped actually launch, it's phenomenal. And when I was trying to, transition and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, I mean, you guys kind of gave me an opportunity to kind of fine tune my chops on your show. So a lot of what I'm doing now, man, it became because you guys kind of gave me that opportunity. I think about myself, L. Duncan, and so many others, man. So big shout out to you.
Ryan's Rewind, a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Columbus. Nick is actually in Mountain Time. He is in Denver, Colorado, or right outside of Denver. So we're very happy to have him on, and I'm glad he made the time to do it. Before we get into it, Nick, and rewind back into your past, I mentioned you being at Georgia Tech. I mentioned you being a professional player. We'll talk about all the different teams here in a second. But talk to us about you transitioning from HBCU life at Morris Brown, okay, to coming to Georgia Tech as a walk-on and
Yeah.
and fighting to get an opportunity to get a scholarship and becoming a starter. I talk about the grind with your name. So talk to me about what happened to make you say, you know what, I'm going to leave Morris Brown. I'm going to try my chops in the ACC at Georgia Tech. Tell us that story briefly, and then we'll get into some of the playing days.
Well, I wasn't a highly touted player coming out of Miami, but I did have an opportunity to go to Youngstown State. But here's the crazy thing about it, that I didn't know about the SATs heading into that process. And I took the SAT, but my test scores hadn't come back, so I missed out on that opportunity. And I knew I wanted to play college football, and I had dreams of playing Power 5 football. But, God had a different path for me. He took me to Morris Brown, and I walked on, and I worked in the athletic department. And I said, you know what? I think I can do this football thing. And I walked on, and the crazy part about it, I played well, and I got like a newcomer of the year. And I was thinking, okay, well, that was going to be enough for them to give me a scholarship. No, they didn't. So a girl my brother was dating, she was just like, look, you need to pick up and leave and go somewhere else. And I'm like, where can I go? I mean, it's either I'm going to Athens or I'm going to Georgia Tech. And I didn't like anything about Georgia. So I said, well, let me try my hand at Georgia Tech. And I used to bum rides, or I used to walk over to Georgia Tech from Morris Brown just to kind of walk around the campus. And I remember, you guys were going to practice one day, and I saw all the football players. I said, well, let me go ahead and see if I can walk down there and watch practice. So I remember walking towards the gate, and then someone kind of stopped me and was like, can I help you? And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to go watch practice. And I was asked, well, do you go to this school? And I was like, no, I plan on transferring. And it was like transferring to be the student or kind of play here. I was like, to do both. And they said, good luck with that. And they closed the door.
Oh,
they closed the gate in my face, right?
Oh,
I'll tell you off camera who that person was, because it was a full circle moment. I just give you a little hint, because when I did transfer, I did get into the school. The same person who said that to me ended up taping my feet, right?
Oh, wow.
And they had no idea that I was that same person, and they wouldn't find out until a couple of years later. So I transferred from Morris Brown to Georgia Tech, and it was different. At an HBCU, opposed to a big college campus, is different. I mean, so many diverse students. The school was larger, and then here it is. You have these ESPN top 100, 300 players, and I'm looking around like, oh, that's such and such, that's such and such, right. And I'm like, look, I got to be here. And I remember walking over to Georgia Tech, getting on the elevator, go up to the football area. And when I got on the elevator, there was this raised gold crest Georgia Tech. And I was like, yes, this is where I need to be. And just so happened, someone got on the elevator. It was Willie Clay.
Oh, big play, right? Willie Clay.
Yes. And I'm trying to play it cool in the corner and not be a fanboy, right? But when he got off, I was like, yo, that was Willie Clay and all of that. So when I got off on the second level, I was charged. Lance Thompson, you might remember him. He was in charge of recruiting. So he was the guy who I talked to, and he was like, look, if you want to come here, you got to go get us some film and all of that. So after getting film, I kind of went through the process of getting into school, and it was phenomenal. And I remember it just like it was yesterday. I was sitting at home in Miami with my brother. I got an envelope, and it had that raised GT, gold GT on it. Mm-hmm. And for 2 days, I didn't open the envelope. I was terrified.
Scared to open it.
I was scared because I didn't want them to tell me, no, I didn't get in. And the way that the letter started, it was like, thanks for applying, but, and I was like, oh, and my brother's like, keep reading. So I kept reading. But
is he reading the letter beside you, or is he just listening to you at this point?
No, he's sitting beside me, but I'm reading it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So he's just anticipating of what was going to come. And then it said that we like to welcome you into the school. And my heart just melted. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, my phone rings. It's the head coach from Morris Brown, because I have been trying to get him to give me a scholarship. And he was telling me, we don't have the money. Right now, mind you, I didn't open this envelope for 2 days.
Right.
The moment that I read it, 2 minutes later,
the phone call comes in. Right.
And I told my brother, I said, man, God is good.
He's amazing.
God is good. And I told the coach, I was like, know what? No, I'm going to Georgia Tech. And then there was an article done on me by AGC. And in the article, they interviewed the coaching staff from Morris Brown, and then they came and interviewed me. And I was sitting in the dining hall when this happened. Now, what I'm about to tell you, I didn't anticipate. So they interviewed those coaches, and those coaches said that I was never going to play at Georgia Tech. Right? And you might not remember this, but I cut that out and I put that in my locker.
Had it in your locker. I remember
every
that.
time I went through something troubling academically where I felt as though I wouldn't be able to achieve it, or from a playing standpoint, I went back and I sat and I read that article. Yep. And I can tell you with full certainty, man, there were times at Georgia Tech, man, I just wanted to pack my bags and go.
Right.
But I said, if I do that, they win. And there was a guy who was one of our head coach. You might remember Bill Lewis. Oh, and gosh. Bill Lewis was not too fond of walk-ons. And it didn't matter what I did in practice during scout team. He never let me travel. Right. And I was so overcome with emotion that I was like, man, screw this. I'm out of here. And then something else changed. Right. God brought us George O'Leary. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. George O'Leary was running the defense. And I remember they used to show us these scout team cards. And they would say, well, listen, we want you to do what's on the card. But I'm like, that's stupid. Right. NC State corners are not going to do that. Right. So I would do my own thing, and I would either back down the ball and intercept the ball. Right. And Bill Lewis was so angry. Right. And I remember Bill yelling, Nick, stop doing that. Just play what's on the card. And then I did it again. And then he said to Coach O'Leary, you do something about it, talk to him. So as I'm approaching Coach O'Leary, he looks like he's yelling at me. Right? Because he's got that look on his face. The scowl. Yeah. That dip in his mouth. Yeah. And his hands are moving around, but he's not yelling at me. Right? He's actually telling me, keep doing it. And I was like, I'm sorry, George. Look, man, I'm throwing the script out. Okay. I had a script of questions that we were going to talk about. We talked about that in the pre-show meeting. You mentioned being a walk-on at Moby and at Georgia Tech. Two-part question. Part A, how long did it take you to get the scholarship from Georgia Tech after you came on campus the first time as a student? I didn't get it until George came. Right? When George and Coach Anselmo came. So that's 12 months, that's 15 months. How long is that? That is about that's about an entire season. And I'll add this too, right? And I don't know if you knew this, but I was transferring from what was considered to be a Division II to a Division I. And at the time, the NCAA had rules about that. So when I transferred, they took a year from me, right? So to be totally honest, let me back up. It was actually 2 seasons that I was kind of a walk-on and I didn't have a scholarship at all. Right. Right. So, and I couldn't believe that NCAA kind of punished me for trying to better myself. For trying to better yourself. It's such a business, man. This is Ryan's Rewind. Happy to have former teammate Nick Ferguson on with me right now. You mentioned me to walk on. I've got so much respect for walk-ons that do what you've done. I've got so much respect for walk-ons like Kevin Tisdale, like Mike Williams. You know, those guys such as yourself are guys that walked on at Georgia Tech, earned a scholarship, and ultimately ended up being a starter. It's such a hard battle for folks that are not on scholarship to be able to maneuver around campus and around the athletic associations like other athletes that are there on scholarship. It's like, looking back at it now, it's damn near classism. You got the haves and you got the have-nots, because clothing, shoes, creatine, just everything on scholarship was taken care of. And guys like yourself, you know, would even be in jeopardy of paying for tutors if you want tutors because you wanted to be eligible to play football. So talk about that briefly, man. I've been mentioning the grind. Talk about the determination that it took for you to ultimately not just get to the NFL, man. I mean,
to freaking walk on at Georgia Tech, to become a starter, and to get that scholarship?
You know what? I go back to training camp, and you remember this. Like training camp was great because you got a chance to live in the dorms. You got that free food. You had that access as though you were part of the team. But once we got down to getting close to school, that's when, hey, you were on your own. Whatever financial aid you had to figure out, you had to do that on your own. As far as meals, you had to figure that out on your own. I mean, you talk about the dining hall, the training table, creatine, and all the protein things. They were great during training camp. But once we got to the school portion of it, all that went away. Right. Now, I can't remember this man's name, but you might remember. There was a custodian, right? A black custodian. And
the great John McCoy.
Yeah, there you go. Hilarious. John McCoy got me through a lot of days because since he was an employee, he can go into the dining hall and get food, right? So on occasion, he would bring, grab me a sandwich, because if it were not for that sandwich, I went to practice hungry, right? Because if you were not on scholarship, you didn't eat in the AA. You had to go to where I guess where they call it the school lounge or whatever it was, where they had Chick-fil-A and all these other places. And I mean, I grew up in the hood, so my mom didn't have money to give me like that. And my brother was still at Morris Brown. So my brother used to cut hair. So my brother would, take some of the money from cutting hair and he'd give it to me. If it wasn't for that, him and John McCoy, man, I would have freaking starved.
Right.
And it was tough, man. And even talking about it right now, I get emotional because it was a real tough time for me. And I was like, man, God, I really want this. I need your help. And it's almost like God said, you know what, Nick, if you really want it, you're going to be challenged, right? And you're going to have a choice. Either you push through or you quit, right? And I was like, it was almost like that scene from The Matrix when they first find Neo and they open the door and they say, well, you know what's down that dark, rainy street, right? You know where that leads. And for me, I was like, I can't quit. There are people who want me to quit. I got to find a way to kind of push through, man. And that's kind of what I did, man. I had a lot of days where I talked to myself a lot,
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and talk to God, like, man, show me a path and show me a way. And then, like I said, after those 2 seasons, Georgia Leary showed up and things changed.
One live Stu, Ryan Stewart in the building. My man, Nick Ferguson, man, former teammate of mine in the secondary at Georgia Tech, former NFL player. We'll get into all that stuff later. All right, we're going to pay a few bills, Nick, and then when I come back, we'll get into a little deeper level of the playing field and some plays that you made or may not have made when we were out there on that football field, man. So whatever y'all do, man, keep it locked to Ryan's Rewind. One live Stu, Ryan Stewart, joined by Nick Ferguson today, having a little bit of fun. Ryan's Rewind. Listen, I played in the NFL. I've taken enough shots to last a lifetime. And let me tell you this, taking a shot just to lose weight, that's not a smart play. That's why I roll with Brain IQ, the all-natural weight chews, cut cravings, boost metabolism, and sharpen focus. No needles, no chemicals, no crash. Just results you can chew on. And Brain IQ is not just about weight chews. They've got a full lineup of all-natural products to keep your mind sharp, your body fueled, and your health on point. Skip the needles, choose natural. Order now. BrainIQHealth.com/REF/1LiveStew. Brain IQ Chews. Smart, natural, built for results. Your boy One Live Stu, Ryan Stewart. A beautiful Ryan's Rewind going down. When it comes to those chews that I was just talking about, trust me, y'all, it's the real deal. Those things are delicious. They're sugar-free. They got caramel. They got chocolate flavor. A lot of people are doing those GLP-1 shots. A lot of stuff, a lot of side effects going on with that thing. All natural, Brain IQ, all natural. Check out the GLP weight loss chews when time allows. You just saw the website. Happy to have a buddy, man, a partner of mine, played ball with him at Georgia Tech back in the day. Nick Ferguson hanging out with me. Nick, let me show you something real quick.
Oh
This
boy.
is this.
Do I want to see this?
It's okay. It comes off of your page.
Ah!
This is Ryan's Rewind. Taking a trip down memory lane with a former teammate of mine. You get done at Georgia Tech, spend a year in Cincinnati. Saskatchewan Roughriders for a year. Ryan Fire for a year. Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a year. Through those 3 seasons right there, what made you say, I'm just going to keep going? Because a lot of guys, after doing that CFL grind
Yeah.
and that World League grind, they say, it's not that important to me. I got to get a job. I got to start making some money. What made you stay in the fight?
I love football, man. I'm a football player through and through. That's not exactly all of who I am, but I love the sport, man. Just the grind. And it sounds crazy, but the competition and just kind of launching my body into someone else and hearing that the woo of the crowd. And that's kind of what it was. Like growing up in Miami, playing at Trez Power Stadium, and in high school, that's you wanted that woo lick, right? So I was always addicted to that. And everyone has different fetishes and have different addictions. Football was therefore my addiction. And I was like, I'm going to break through at some point. So I had a lot of confidence and faith in myself and faith that God would present me with an opportunity. But like I said, there were some moments where I was unsure. And I'm like, I don't want to stay in the CFL. Some guys I know made it in the CFL, had a long, illustrious career. And I'm like, no, I want to be able to test myself against some of the best college athletes in the world. And the only way I can do that to really know if I had the goods, I had to go from Morris Brown to Georgia Tech. Then I had to go from CFL and all these other places to playing in the NFL. That's the only way that I would be able to say, you know what? I tried, it didn't work. Now I can move on.
I love it, man. In the doghouse with your boy, One Life Stu, Ryan Stewart. This is Ryan's Rewind. Spend some time with Nick Ferguson. Okay, 2 more tech things, and then we'll move away from that. I want your favorite memory on the field in your playing days in a jacket uniform at Bobby Dodd Field. What's your favorite playing? It could be off the practice field. It could be a game. It could be on the road. Give me your best memory as a player from Bobby Dodd.
Well, the best memory, man, was suiting up and running on the field for my first game. Because it was something that I started dreaming about, from my transition from Morris Brown, and just to kind of wear the uniform, run out there, see the cheerleaders, see the Ramblin' Wreck. For me, that was kind of the high point. Like I actually got out there and, was able to play. Now, I'll even carry that further. We played against Arizona. This is when they were the Desert Storm or whatever, Desert Swarm, and in Arizona. And once again, playing in that game, we didn't win. But then a reporter came up to me and asked me questions. And for me at that moment, I was like, yo, I made it, right? I'm in a uniform. I'm a starter now. And then now someone's actually interviewing me. Right. I was like, yeah. So those were kind of like the highlights of my time.
What's the best behind the scenes story from the locker room?
You really want to do that?
Well, other than me in a former quarterback situation, other than that, okay, I want something that comes to mind from your time and your stories there. A story that you would like to share that you think is pretty cool.
All right. So here's a very cool story. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I'll also being a walk-on was always difficult. And I remember being there in the summer because I had to go to summer school. And there was a player who was a former first-round draft choice in the locker room. That guy was Marco Coleman. And I went up to him, Mr. Coleman, I know you play for the Dolphins. Me and my family are huge Dolphin fans, and, we love what you do. And I said, I got a question for you. Talk to me about, playing in the NFL and, what would it be like, playing in the secondary? And he sat there and he actually gave me some of his time. And mind you, he didn't know me from Adam. And I was still a walk-on at that time, but he sat there and he gave me about 10 minutes and he talked to me. He was like, man, look, if you want to make it in the NFL, you just have to keep grinding. You just have to keep working, because he was like, man, a lot of those guys, they're just talented. They don't work at it on an everyday basis. Right. And he was like, man, if you want to do it, you should put your best foot forward and make that happen. And I was like, cool. And I was like, hey man, you mind? I mean, can I get your number to just kind of chop it up about a couple of things? And he gave it to me.
Right.
He gave me his number. And real quick story. So when I go back to Miami that same year, now I gave Marco my number and I got his. He hit me up. He was like, hey, listen, man, we're having this party down on South Beach if you want to come.
He's a great dude, man.
I was like, what?
He's a great dude, man.
And I went there, and that was kind of my first introduction of what life could be like for a professional player. And he didn't have to do that. And
no.
The story went further. I asked him, because he gave me tickets to a Dolphins game, right? And I was like, man, you know what? My father lives about 10 minutes from here. You mind coming over and just saying hi?
And he did.
And he did it.
He's a great person, man.
He did it, man. So still to this day, I stay glued to Marco because of that. He didn't have to do it, but it was great that he did.
Ryan's Rewind, Nick Ferguson, spending some time with me on the platform today. Dude, similar story. During my visit, it was so live. I told you about it, committed, blase.
Yeah.
Marco was one of the, every visit I took, I would find two players, one offensive player and one defensive player to talk to other than the guy that was hosting me as a recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow Marco ended up being the guy that I talked to on defense. Just like a similar situation with you, he took all the time in the world to talk to this high schooler that was interested in this school.
Yeah.
I didn't commit to that point, but we exchanged numbers, and he told me, keep me in the loop with your process, whether you come here or not, man. Good spending time with you, good meeting you. And after committing, I called him a week before spring break, and I said, hey, man, Ryan Stu, I was like, no, I remember you, Stu. Just like we were old high school buddies.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what's up? I said, I'm thinking about coming down for the spring game, which is next weekend. He said, man, would love to have you. If I can't get Daniels to get your hotel, you could crash with me. That's just who that guy is.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and for you to have that experience with him, and you not knowing him not knowing you, but him taking the time.
Yeah.
And for me to have a similar situation, that's a testament to his heart. And it wasn't just him. It was the bulk of those players that was on that Bobby Ross championship team. Mm-hmm. There were just a bunch of good guys, which is one of the reasons why I ultimately committed and wanted to come here and play ball for him.
Yeah. And you know what, man? Fast forward, I would eventually end up playing with Marco with the Denver Broncos his final year. And we lost against Pittsburgh. And I left that game so crushed, not because we lost as a team. I was so crushed that we didn't do what we needed to get them to a Super Bowl.
Right. And y'all had a good squad, Nick.
Yeah, it crushed me. And I was just like, man, this was his last year. And this was the year we were supposed to get him. It wasn't supposed to be Jerome Bettis. Right. It was supposed to be about Marco Coleman.
Yeah.
But, we didn't get him over the finish line.
One time to my man Marco Coleman, real good friend, talked to him last week. He's doing well, coaching now at Alabama A&M. Has some time at Tech. He will soon be one of the guests on Ryan's Rewind. All right, man, a lot has changed since we were in college. Today's players, they're living an entirely different world out there. They got NIL deals. They got the transfer portal. They got realignment of conferences. It's a whole new game than it was compared to us when we were there. I want to hear your perspective on where college football is headed in your personal opinion when it comes to transfer portals and NILs.
Well, I like the concept, the transfer portal and NILs, but I do believe that they need to find a way to kind of rope it in. And what I mean by that is that it's kind of getting out of hand. It's the wild, wild west, and they need their version of a player association. Now, I know the colleges are not going to want to do that because anytime you talk about a players association, they think strikes, holdouts. They've seen what happened in the NFL. They don't want that in college football. But I do believe that they need to have a group to kind of govern and advise some of these guys. And I've often said one guy that should be on this panel is Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy, God-fearing man. He's worked in the league. He's coached in the league. He's been a player himself. Who's better to advise some of these young players as far as them and their family and navigating the transfer portal and NIL? But I do feel as though something needs to be in place because NIL is basically a contract with the player stating that we're going to give you a certain amount of money for your level of production. Okay, that's a contract. What that contract means is that, well, we either have you for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. You just can't keep jumping in and out and grabbing the bag. I get it. You know, in our era, we didn't get paid, but these kids have an opportunity to get paid a lot of money, but you still need to have some checks and balances. So I love the fact that they're getting paid, but they need to find a way to do it in a better way.
So were you opposed to coaches that hopped in and out of teams and out of jobs for better cities, for better paydays, for better conferences? For our entire time, I mean, it's almost been 30 years since we played college football. Our entire time, you'd have a coach that would have 3 different jobs in a matter of 5 to 6 years. If they were allowed to do that for the decades that they did, how come these kids can't find themselves or find the best situation for them while they're playing college football?
Well, I never liked the fact that coaches would do that very thing. But I think the reason why I say, well, we need some checks and balances because here's what's happening. As great it is as the players getting paid, NIL and jumping in the transfer portal, it is, to me, it's killing high school sports. And what I mean by that is that some of those high school players looking to join teams as freshmen, they're not going to get those opportunities because now there's so many veteran players in the portal. It's like NFL free agency. If a coach is saying, well, you know what, I need to go out and get some guys with some experience. They may not have had a lot of playing time in their previous teams, but I need to have those types of guys on my team. Like when I look at the Colorado Buffaloes roster, I mean, they have so many transfer. And that's great for those guys, but what about those true raw freshmen coming out of high school? Those opportunities are decreased because guys keep jumping in and out. And those are those young guys, those high school guys, the young Nick Fergusons and Ryan Stewarts. I want to find a way to protect those guys as well.
I can dig it, man. As a player that's transferred yourself, do you think the transfer portal is helping or hurting college football and or college players?
Well, I think it's helping to give guys opportunities, but it's also hurting at the same time because there are a lot of kids getting bad advice because everyone wants the bag. They said, well, you know, Ryan Stewart got a bag. I'm just as good as he is, or if not better. So now you got all those people in your ear chirping and saying, going out and get a bigger bag. And what that means is, though, you have a scholarship right now. So you're going to leave that scholarship and jump in a portal to get another scholarship, and you might not. And if you come from a family like I did that didn't have a lot of money, I mean, my mom is slapping me in the face talking about, boy, what are you talking about? You better stay at that school and learn how to fight. Right. And what's happening with a lot of kids, they're losing that. And I don't want to sound like get off my lawn type of guy, but the kids in this generation, man, they feel entitled, right? I'm supposed to get this. But I'm like, no, you're supposed to fight for it, right? Now you fight for it. Now I can say, well, you've earned it, but they want you to give it to them. And that's the part of the process that I don't like. Okay, well, they bring you in as a quarterback or a safety. Then they get another top 100, ESPN safety or quarterback. You going like, well, I'm out of here. No, freaking fight and compete. And this is where I hope that a lot of these athletes kind of learn that, because there's a ton of guys stuck in that transfer portal with no scholarships. Right.
Looking for a job, looking for an opportunity. Yes. Had a good opportunity, yep. and as coaches say, pissed it away.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. If you could go back to college football today, what part of the game do you think would be the hardest for you to make an adjustment to?
Well, with today's rules, man, you can't be physical now. The same thing could be said in high school, college, and more so on the NFL level. The things that we were able to do as far as being physical with receivers coming across the middle. We can't really do that anymore. So now you would have to be able to fine-tune your ability to tackle. And the way I look at it now is like a baseball strike zone. And you got to try to hit a guy in his chest. And I've played in a game with John Lynch where Eddie Kennison caught a pass. He saw John Lynch coming and he ducked. He changed the contact surface and John got fined. And John used to get some excessive fines. Like one time he hit Dallas Clark for the Colts, and the league fined him like 75 G's.
$75,000.
And we had this rule in our DB room, like if a guy got a fine, we'll all put in to help him out. But I said, dude, I can't help you.
I can't even do that.
Nope. You make too much money, and I don't make enough, so I can't help you on that one. So I left him on his own on that one.
Mentioning John Lynch being a former teammate of yours, before we get into some NFL stuff, before we pay bills and then get into some NFL stuff, and it is Ryan's Rewind. Guest today, Nick Ferguson, hanging out, former teammate at Georgia Tech, former NFL player, former CFL player. Before we get into the NFL conversations and the talks, because we got to talk Shador.
Yeah.
You mentioned John Lynch. You played on several different teams. We talked about that a second ago. Name some of the bigger name players or Hall of Fame players that you were in a huddle with or shared a locker room with while you were in the National Football League.
Well, the biggest two is John Lynch and Champ Bailey. This helmet right here is
boo. I wasn't gonna say what the hell you doing with a Georgia helmet in your house. I wasn't gonna say it, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Listen. I know for all my Georgia Tech people, you're like, well, how could you? But once again, that's the Hall of Famer, Champ Bailey, right? How could I say no? So Champ Bailey and John Lynch were two of the players who were in the huddle with me who kind of made it to the Hall of Fame. But I played against a lot of great players. And for me, Stu, after seeing my path and how I got to the league, to say that I can be on the same field in the same huddle with those guys, man, that means so much to me. And that tells me that, my ability and my talent started to grow because I'm on the field with those guys.
I love it, man. All right, hold tight for a minute, man. We'll pay a quick bill, about 30 seconds worth, and then we'll hop back in. I got more with Nick Ferguson as we delve into the NFL here shortly. It's Ryan's Rewind, man. Thank y'all for being here. Try to do these more often, but keep it locked. We'll be back here in a few seconds. Needles, man, please. I retired from those when I hung up my cleats. Why get poked when you can snack your way slim? Brain IQ chews are all natural, taste great, and keep you in the game. Shots hurt, chews work. BrainIQ.com/REF/OneLiveStew. BrainIQHealth.com/REF/OneLiveStew. Brain IQ chews. Smarter than shots, stronger than excuses. All right, your boy at One Live Stew, Ryan Stewart, Ryan's Rewind. We're going to fast forward from Saturdays to Sundays. Nick spent a few years in the league, several different teams. I always highlight Denver and Houston while talking about him, but I forgot about his time in Chicago. I forgot about his time with the Jets. So he's got an extensive time in the National Football League. Happy to have you back, man. Really appreciate you, Nick. As we delve into the NFL, as a former Bronco, what's your take on Sean Payton and his era to date? Do you think things are finally headed in the right direction, coming off of a very good year with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix? Give me your take on your current Denver Broncos and Sean Payton.
Yeah, the team finally seems to be going in the right direction. And you know this, you need a quarterback. You need a quarterback you believe in. And Russ was never Sean Payton's quarterback because he inherited him. And every offensive coordinator / head coach, they want their particular guy. And Bo Nix is his guy. Now, Bo is not Drew Brees. And Drew Brees was one of those guys. He was short in stature, but he can really rip it. But Bo wasn't, Drew Brees wasn't mobile. Bo Nix is mobile. He can get outside the pocket. And sometimes some old school coaches, they want those quarterbacks to stay between the tackles, go through the progression of reads, and throw the ball down the field. I told Bo this in practice, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I say, look, man, the greatest gift God gave you was your mobility. getting outside the pocket and making those throws, you're one of the more talented young quarterbacks in the league that can do that. So I'm hoping your head coach allows you to get outside. But for me, the biggest thing here isn't Sean Payton. It isn't Bo Nix. It is the Broncos defense. And what I call them, or what I started calling them, there was a 90s TV show called MacGyver. And MacGyver was this kind of super spy. And every time he got in trouble, he always found a way to get out. I mean, he could take a paperclip, a rubber band, and some chewing gum and make a rocket out of it. That's kind of who he was. But the success of the Denver Broncos, man, is going to hinge on Vance Joseph and the Broncos defense. Last year, historically, 63 sacks, unheard of. And they're going to account for this defense to kind of help lead them to the promised land. That's why I tell people, Sean Payton is an offensive mind. He's known to be an offensive genius, but he understands what side the bread is buttered on, and it's the defense. That's why they went out and added guys like Hufanga, the safety who formerly played for the 49ers. They drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, a DB. It usually teams don't draft DBs.
Not really.
In the
not that high. Nope.
Right. So they drafted him, and then they added some guys in free agency. So this team is going to lean heavily on their defense, but I think this is the year that they finally beat Kansas City, not once, but twice.
Oh, he's putting it on the record right now. Denver getting the triumph 2 times versus the vaunted rival in the division, the Kansas City Chiefs. You mentioned Bo Nix and his mobility. Are you surprised at the amount of mobile quarterbacks that exist today? You know what? I'm talking to my homie. Are you surprised at the brothers that's in the league right now? Are you surprised about the progression of the black quarterback, Nick?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you started to rephrase it, because when we see the quarterbacks now, they have a lot of skill set of quarterbacks back in the day who happen to be African American. When you think about Randall Cunningham and being able to run to the right or left and throw, and there was a play he got knocked on the ground, put his hand on the ground and still threw the ball down the field. We are seeing so much of that now in today's game than we've seen in years past, because there are coaches who are now embracing that, because they know that's another element of the game that puts pressure on opposing defense. Like when you see Josh Allen, right? I see Randall Cunningham. He just in a different skin. Right. And for me, the day of the statuesque quarterback is over. Now, the only remaining quarterbacks that you could say fit into that mold, you have maybe when you think about it was Aaron Rodgers being one of those types of guys. You think about
Steve Young.
No, I'm not talking about the guys who are currently in the league.
Oh, right? Still playing. Okay.
Still playing. You don't have too many of those guys. Like Kirk Cousins was one of those guys. And I'm not a Falcons fan, but I thank the Lord up above that they moved his ass out. Right? Because he was not the quarterback for that team. He got paid a lot of money.
Right.
But he's not a quarterback. But you need mobility at the quarterback position. I remember when Lamar Jackson first came into the league. I'll never say this guy's name, but someone on the station I once worked for said that Lamar Jackson was just a running back playing quarterback. And I thought that was highly disrespectful, right? And I said, well, this guy has a lot of ability. It's on his offensive coordinator to try to get the best out of him. If you feel as though he was not the best passer, which I still thought even at that early stages of Lamar, he still can rip the ball, right? But I'm like, you don't try to keep someone like that in the box. It's almost like I'm a comic book guy. So Flash is really fast, right? You don't try to put Flash in a plexiglass box. No, you let him run. You let him do what comes natural. And to me, when you have a quarterback, and I played against Michael Vick, right? Don't put him in the box. Let him be him. Yep. Because from a defensive standpoint, it's hard to contain that guy because he can run it and he can throw it.
It's in baseball, they call it a 5-2 players. Guys that can run, guys that can throw, guys that can, okay. In the NFL, they're calling it dual threat quarterbacks, guys that have the ability to throw the ball well and run the ball. So you can give me that first down one or two ways. Doug and I on the Two Live Stews, we call it triple threat quarterbacks because today's quarterbacks, and 15 to 16 of them now being in the league that are black, they don't just have the ability to run the ball. They don't just have the ability to stand in the pocket and throw the ball if necessary. They can roll out as well, and they have the ability today to think. They used to talk, you mentioned disrespect, okay? Yep. They used to talk about Michael Vick as if all he could do was run the ball, and from time to time, he throws it. He doesn't have the capacity to think the way a quarterback should think to throw the ball. Now, these guys that are in the league that are dual threats, they're triple threats, Nick, because they can think with their pill, roll with their pill, stay in there and throw it, or take off with their legs and get the first down if needed.
Hey, man, let me tell you, being a defensive player, man, that is stressful. I actually got a 15-yard penalty on Michael Vick when I was with the Jets. It was a preseason game. He's rolling out, and I'm thinking like, dude, I didn't do all this running not to hit something, right? So I hit him. He went through the net. But those athletic quarterbacks that we are describing, they make life so much difficult for defenders. And once again, I don't understand the old school frame of mind. Stay in the pocket, go through your progression, because you may go from first progression to second progression. The hole opens up. You got to take it because it's all about moving the chains. And when you think about those mobile quarterbacks, man, it stresses defenders the hell out because just like, okay, well, I know I'm supposed to be a spot dropper, but I see him coming. I can only stay here for so long. Right. But as soon as you go like a moth to flame to go attack him, now he's running parallel to the line of scrimmage, and now he throws the ball over your head. That's the thing that makes Patrick Mahomes so dangerous.
I love it. I love it. Two quick things, and then I got some rapid fire questions, and I'm gonna let you go. Really appreciate it. It is a Ryan's Rewind. Guest today, Nick Ferguson, former teammate from Georgia Tech, former National Football League player, which is one of the questions I'm going to ask you also. Okay, you mentioned the Giants a little while ago. Russell Wilson and mobile quarterbacks. What do you think is going to happen there? Because Shador had a really good game, which we'll talk about in a second. Cam Ward has played decent. But Jackson Dart, in my humble opinion, has been the best rookie to date when it comes to the class that's finally getting a chance to get on the field. Give me your thoughts on what's going to happen with the Giants in New York with Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson.
At some point during the season, Jackson Dart will become a starter. When you look at the Giants' schedule, I mean, it's one of the toughest schedules in the league, and you would thought that the league would be a little lenient with them, but no. And right now, Jackson Dart, I guess when he starts, it depends on what happens with Russell. If Russell can kind of get that offense going and keep it in rhythm, then he's going to be able to stave off Jackson Dart. But playing in New York City is tough. From a fan standpoint, a media standpoint, they're coming at your throat every single day. And if Russ has one little hiccup, the fans are going to start
screaming
Jackson Dart. Now, here's a great thing for Jackson Dart. See, he has the support of the GM, and he has the support of his head coach, offensive coordinator. And that's why he was taken in the first round. And for me, it doesn't make a difference when you're taken, but you need the support of those guys who are calling plays because those are the individuals that set you up. Now, I'm not saying that Jackson Dart lacks the ability to play in the NFL. No, he's shown that. But when you have a guy like Brian Dable say, you know what, let's highlight some of those attributes and show the fans what you can be. To me, that's what you want, because if you have someone in the organization working against you, dare I say sabotage, then it's going to make things very difficult for you as a player.
Perfect segue when it comes to the word sabotage. I couldn't let you get out of here before we get to rapid fire without talking about Shador Sanderson.
Yeah.
Shador Sanders. I hadn't had the ability to be on the platform since the last game where he didn't have the best outing.
Right.
So there's a huge part of me that says I'm going to save my hot take for tomorrow morning with Doug on the Two Live Stews here on YouTube, Stewart Media and Entertainment. The Stews have a show at 7 o'clock on Monday and Thursday. So I'm going to save my hot take for tomorrow morning with my brother. But what I will say prior to asking you this question is, Shador didn't do the job that he needed to do to unquestionably sit Dylan Gabriel. I've mentioned on the platform that he being a 5th-round pick and Gabriel being a 3rd-round pick, the economics of the game, the economics of the sport, at the end of the day, the business says the 5th-rounder needs to beat out the 3rd-rounder. The 3rd-rounder is not trying to beat out the 5th-rounder.
True.
At the end of the day, they're going to give the 3rd-rounder more opportunity to make this team and earn that money before they give it to the 5th-rounder. If the 3rd-rounder does enough to beat out the 5th-rounder, then everybody has another year or 6 months of security on their job when it comes to the scouting department. And the coaches have said, I like this guy for that guy. So there's a big game in play. Now to the question, with all I just said, which was a lot. Shador's been listed 3rd. Pinkett's on the way out. He's been traded. Dylan Gabriel is number 2. Joe Flacco is number 1. Was Shador given a fair chance to be the backup quarterback to Joe Flacco?
Hell to the no. He was not given an opportunity. And you just somewhat laid it out. Now, people can look at Shador's performance and say, well, see, that's the performance of a 5th-rounder. And I'm going to say, pause, pump the brakes. Here's why. Because a coach, a GM, or owner, you don't want to look bad. Because if a guy who's drafted in the 5th round outplays the 3rd-rounder, you have a conversation. You have a problem within the organization because someone's going to look bad. And they didn't want someone to look bad. And I know that sounds like I'm saying sabotage. You classify, use whatever word or adjective you want to describe it. But here's what I do know. That wasn't an even playing field. You can't tell me Shador Sanders played the way that he played against the Carolina Panthers starters in week 1 of the preseason, and then he looks like crap, dog poo in the last game. No, you have to give him the proper talent on the opposite outside, which they did not do that. Dylan Gabriel had several veteran wide receivers. Deontay Johnson, who they released, who played for several teams last year, he was out there, right? And Dylan had a better offensive line. They ran the ball. He was able to get the ball out of his hands quickly, not because he was able to process things faster, as though some national analyst from the 4-letter network continues to tell us, no. See, it was one read throws, right? Catch, shotgun, step, throw, right, left, whatever. And don't give me this bull crap about, well, he went through his progressions. Sit down and watch films with me. We'll go right through it, and I'll show you that was not the case. So Shador did not have his best performance, even though, believe it or not, the fan base in Cleveland, some of those people were still clapping for him. Like when he was scrambling, it was one play, he drifted in the pocket, he scrambled, there's a guy draped all over him, he threw it to the running back dropped it, right? The running back dropped it. But that tells you that the kid is an NFL quarterback. He needs more time, but I'm going to say the Browns play calling did not assist him in any way.
Nick, you have a problem with Joe Flacco being the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns?
No, I don't. The reason I don't, because both Dylan and Shador still have a lot to learn about this game. And you don't want to throw them out, because if you throw them out as starters and they don't have success, it's going to wreck their confidence. And we already see what the national narrative is about Shador. Could you imagine what that narrative would be about Dylan Gabriel? And the Cleveland Browns, this was their plan all along. Joe didn't play in the preseason, only in the finale. The idea was that they won games with a 30-something quarterback who came off the couch, right? So they figured as though they can run it back. They can do that and allow their young quarterbacks to actually develop and get time. That's why Kenny Pickett was traded. And I'll say this. Everyone was talking about Dylan Gabriel and Shador. But to me, the main guy was Kenny Pickett, whether he was going to remain on the roster. And just like I thought they were going to either release him or trade him, they did just that. They traded him to the Raiders.
All right. What's the odds of us seeing Shador on the football field this coming fall?
Wow, for Shador?
Well, Shador, the third stringer. And the reason why I say that, I know a lot of people are going to say, he's a scout team quarterback. You know, I just think that the Sanders team, from dad on down, is so beyond blessed that opportunity finds them.
Right.
Just like there's no way in the world that Shador is supposed to be the starter and play the majority of that first preseason game with that starting offensive line. That's just not supposed to happen to anybody, but it happens to Shador. There's no way that the HBCU quarterback is going to be a Heisman Trophy runner-up. Well, Colorado calls and says, hey, we want you to come over here, which we know means you bring in your son. Your son finds himself in a Power 5. I mean, opportunity finds them. So in the back of my mind, after seeing that the team was made, and he made the team because Doug and I debated if he's going to make the team or not. I knew he would make the team. Now that that's been done, what's the odds that we see this Sunday in the fall Shador Sanders being the number one quarterback for the Cleveland Browns?
Joe Flacco getting injured, Dylan Gabriel going into the game, and the harsh reality of being a rookie in the NFL taking hold of Dylan, and Jimmy Haslam, who also is on record saying, I didn't choose Shador.
That's not my guy.
Andrew Berry chose it. Then just think about that dynamic. If Flacco gets injured, Dylan Gabriel goes in and he doesn't play well, Jimmy Haslam now has to acquiesce to Andrew Berry and just like, man, we got to put his guy in. And if Shador goes in and plays well, which I can tell you there are a lot of those veteran guys on offense and defense that like Shador. He starts playing well. That's going to create a problem for Jimmy Haslam, but it's going to help out Andrew Berry. But Shador is going to become a better quarterback because he's going to be running scout team, which means though he's going to be going against the number one defense. Yes. He's going to make some mistakes, and you want to
very good, Nick. Very good.
You want to make some mistakes in practice, and then that's going to help him whenever he gets his opportunity.
Before I get to rapid fire and get you out of here, man, really appreciate it. Had a great time. Looking forward to having you on in the future, man, to do more in-depth conversation and maybe even have a little debate. You mentioned Chicago. You mentioned the Jets, of course, Houston, of course, Denver. Even the CFL teams, Saskatchewan, all the CFL teams. What was your best stop while you were a professional football player, and why?
Oh, man, it was Denver, of course. It's one of the reasons I'm back here living in a Mile High city. Sometimes it can be cold as hell, but you learn to kind of fight through that. But it was Denver, man, and having an opportunity to compete for a championship every single year. That was kind of the mindset. That was the culture. And then just being here with Hall of Fame owner like, the late Pat Bowlen, Mike Shanahan, who they got to put him in the Hall of Fame. There's so many coaches who are coaching now that's come from his coaching tree. But just being here, man, this is a football country, right? And I know every fan base said, well, we're number one and we're the best fan bases. Right. For me, when I look at it, there are three organizations where I feel as though have the best fan bases because they travel. Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, and the freaking Denver Broncos.
Yeah. If I had to add a fourth, I would probably say Dallas. And I'm not a Dallas hater, but I do detest the Dallas Cowboys and their fandom more than anything. It's the fans that really piss me off about Dallas. But they'll get on the road and travel no matter where that team goes also.
Yeah, they will. They just need to – they need someone in there to be a GM because having the owner be the de facto GM, it's hurting them because he's going to pay Micah Parsons. He has no choice.
Yeah.
He's done this before. He's done it.
He's just sucking the life out of the team before doing so.
But here's the thing with Jerry. See, Jerry did it with Emmett, Dak, and CeeDee Lamb. See, just think about this. They got this controversy going with Michael Parsons. At the same time, you get that Netflix kind of thing that they're streaming right now about the Cowboys. Jerry is a genius as far as branding. He is a genius, right? And that's what he's doing.
All right, man. Before we let you go, we got a little segment here on Ryan's Rewind where I give you a rapid fire question, okay? It's going to be one or the other. You just say the first thing that comes to your mind. I may have a rebuttal or a question, or we may just go to the next one. I got a quick five for you. If I was to say Netflix or Amazon, what were you going to say?
Netflix.
Who's on your music playlist right now?
Ooh, Lil Baby.
You still listening to Lil Baby? Does he have a new project?
No, I just like some of his old stuff. Yes.
I'd never see you just listening to Little Baby.
I know it's outside the box, right?
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would that food be?
Ooh, jerk chicken.
Okay. Being the fellow techie such as yourself, like I am, do you see AI as a blessing or do you see AI as a curse?
It's a damn curse, man. James Cameron made this movie called Terminator, right? That's all you need to know. Let's go back and watch the original Terminator. That answers all your questions.
I don't even call it Chat GPT no more. I gave her a name. Her name is Chitara. And Chitara and I, we have conversations, man. She's very attentive. I'm a huge fan. And I see how folks like you and others think that Chitara could be dangerous to a certain extent, but she's been so convenient with me, man. I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't even want you to say nothing else bad about her while we're on this platform today. I'm very fond of her, Nick.
See, you know what? See, that's just like with someone having home automation, like the doors, windows, locks, and the thermostats. Right. I mean, you've seen iRobot. All it is Skynet to take over. You can't get out of the crib. You can't even open the refrigerator, right?
Last rapid fire question from my man, Nick Ferguson. Really appreciate it, Ferg. Who's one celebrity you'd love to have dinner with, alive or dead? One celebrity you'd love to have dinner with, alive or dead?
Denzel Washington. Yeah, Denzel Washington, a great actor, loved all his work. But I mean, when you listen to his speeches, I mean, he says some profound stuff. Earlier this year, Coach Prime was able to get Denzel to actually show up on a Zoom and talk to his group. And man, I was just locked in what he was saying because he's a very inspirational guy. And I mean, he gives it to you straight, raw, right. No chaser. Right. So I would love to just sit down and chop it up with him.
One last question before I let you get out of here, man. And again, man, really appreciate it. Looking forward to moving forward and doing a couple of things. If you could tell your younger self something today at the close to 50 age you are now, what would that one thing be that you would tell your younger self from your college days?
I would say don't be discouraged. Life is going to work out better than what you previously had thought. And all the grinding that you have put in thus far and all the heartbreaks and disappointment that you went through, it's going to work out. It's definitely going to work out. And also transfer to Georgia Tech a lot sooner.
As always, love, brother, man. I really appreciate it. From our days back on the flats at Georgia Tech, man, in the ATL, and coming to your wedding and seeing your beautiful family. I'm glad I mentioned that before you go. How is the family, man? How are the kids? How's the wife? Please tell them I said hello, man. But how are they doing in the Mile High City?
Yeah, they're doing well. And, after 18, 19 years, my wife still loves me. So she tolerates me, right? She tolerates me. I'm batting 100 as far as that is concerned. So I'm blessed. My family is healthy. So I can't really complain about anything else.
God is good, man. He's absolutely amazing, man. I appreciate you spending some time with us, man. And to the listeners, y'all remember this. To understand the game today, you got to rewind yesterday. Until the next time, I'm your boy, One Live Stu, Ryan Stewart. And this has been Orion's Rewind. Nick, I appreciate you, man.
Mile high salute to you, baby.
The Mile High salute. Appreciate y'all, man. See you next week on Ryan's Rewind. Don't forget about the Two Live Stews tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Doug and I will be breaking down. Shador being on the third spot in the depth chart. Pinky being on the road. Got a lot of other things in the world of sports. As a matter of fact, great reminder. Doug is out tomorrow, so Two Live Stews experience will be Joe Ham and I. Joe and I will chop it up. We got a real good show planned for y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Really, really appreciate y'all, and we will see you next time when we do a Ryan's Rewind.